Hey, welcome back to That'll Do Garage. Thanks for joining me today. Right now we're working on the F250, trying to get the engine out. I think we're almost there. Let me show you where we're at. Naturally, I've been working on this behind the scenes here. So the engine is mostly disconnected, I would say 95%. I think the only thing we have left is the crossmember bolts underneath the transmission. I've been plugging away. You can see down here I started by removing the snow plow. Just cutting all that stuff off. We'll grind it off nice and flush later, but they had a bunch of wonky stuff on here for brackets for the plow right behind the bumper, so I had to cut all that off. But this is all basically disconnected. I got rid of a lot of the emission stuff. There's a lot of random hoses and things like this that are not going to get used again. This is from the old emission system, so it'll get scrapped eventually. We'll get there. I did cut through the exhaust. I tried to take it off, but I was really fighting with the bolts. So it's all junk anyway. So I just cut the exhaust right behind the manifolds. Let's see. All the bracketry, front end accessories obviously is all gone. Over here we had a oil cooler that was kind of a hassle. The lines are really heavy duty. So I had to fight with that for quite a while, but that is here and it's gone now. All the fuel line and electrical up here I think is disconnected, so it should come right out. Ford did leave us these big provisions for picking up the engine, so we'll make use of those today. And I'm hoping I can just pull the bolts out of the transmission cross member and then we can lift this thing out. I got my engine stand ready to go over there. Folds up, but it's should be all set for us. And my engine hoist here with a fancy leveler. I've never used one of these before, but no expense spared. Well, moving underneath, you can see I got the transfer case out. Everything is so big and heavy. Had to get my floor jack to hold that thing. Pardon the rust here. It's pretty bad. Like, look at the floor. That's the carpet. That's gonna be a hassle. So I got all my shift linkage taken apart for the transmission and the transfer case. As I mentioned, cut the exhaust off just to make that easier so I don't have to fight with it. Drive shafts are out, transfer case is out, motor mount bolts are out. Starter's disconnected. I think this is from the that air pump system that I was telling you about. Dumps air into the catalytic converter. So that's gonna go to transmission lines are disconnected. Electrical connections, I put some penetrating oil on these bolts, so it's pretty bad under here. My plan, I guess, is to get the transmission and engine out and then come back and probably drop both of the fuel tanks and replace the tanks and the straps and the bolts and all the fuel lines, all the stuff that runs along the frame over here. Just because it, you know, it's in bad shape. All the loom and the wiring is all really brittle. So I'm just going to go through all that once I get all this stuff out. But that's where we're at. I'm going to start taking these bolts out and hopefully not get too much rust in my eyes. Okay, take two. I had to do some of what James May calls jiggery pokery. And I hooked my chains onto the cylinder heads to get the whole thing to come forward a little bit. Seems like there's a lot of weight here. What a shock, right? Here we go. Don't worry about that distributor. It's all got to get replaced anyway. I'm going to let the transmission down just a little bit. Coming along, just about got it out. Had a little bit of extra fight because of the exhaust, how I had to cut the exhaust and leave it hanging. So I pulled the exhaust manifold off on this side, which did seem to help. And you know, I'm just fighting the good fight. Found a couple grounds. I think my cruise control cable was still hooked up, but just about got it out here. And then I'm probably gonna have to move my toolbox to swing this thing around. Well, she's out. Look at that. It's just like 3 inches of dirt and crap up in here. It's really kind of gross. Can't wait to like pressure wash this thing. Everything's nasty, right? And that was part of the reason I wanted to take the engine out, was so that I could clean this, but also it forces me to look at every single connection, every single vacuum line, you know, cable, electrical connection, every hose, everything is going to get touched and inspected and freshened up and corrected. So that's the idea here. Eventually I will roll this thing outside and pressure wash the engine bay. And here we have this beautiful specimen. Look at that. It's good to see it like that. I've wanted to do this for a long time. And now I can kind of give it a fresh start, you know. But this is left over from that stupid air pump system. That's exactly the kind of stuff I want to get rid of. Like, just dumb emissions crap that leaks and doesn't work and adds complexity and looks dumb. And so I think the transmission is okay in general. I don't expect there to be any problems with it. They did plow with this truck, so it's been beat on a lot. So who knows what's going to happen. But the main reason, the instigator for this whole project, is that flex plate that's right between the transmission and the engine. Bolts on the back of the engine. And that is what the starter interfaces with. And the flex plate is stripped, so the starter can't engage, so you can't turn the engine over. So I got to take something out, and then I thought, well, might as well take out the whole thing, clean it up, pressure wash it, rebuild the engine, you know, since you're here, might as well. A lot of this is going in the garbage can, intake and fuel injection system, ignition system. It's all going to get replaced. Oh, here's another leftover. I think that's from the EGR tube. You can kind of see it's broken off there, so I'm sure that was leaking and making noise, and she needs a lot of love. So this is a perfect example. I was just thinking about my next steps. I'm looking at what I want to do next. Check out this bell housing bolt. It's not even close to tight. This is what you see all over this thing. Just poorly done work. Stuff not tightened down, stuff leaking, stuff rubbing, and they don't care. So I gotta start fixing that stuff. But next thing we're gonna do, take this air pump tubing off, take this vacuum line off, probably leave the rest of it on, and then we're gonna go outside and pressure wash it just like you see it. I'm not going to worry about getting water in things because I'm going to completely disassemble the engine. So yeah, it should be good, should be fun. Just found another little gem. This right here is a helicoil in the busted off cylinder head. It's supposed to look like that, but somebody broke the end off the cylinder head here. Probably like over tightened it or something, put a helicoil in it. So that's definitely not holding. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know, I'll have to find out. But you can see, based on the super thick, super black carbon buildup, it was probably leaking. This one over here is leaking too, look at that. These 460s, they have real manifold problems for sure. Like they crack and they break and they loosen up, and they're always a disaster. So I'm not gonna reuse them, I'm gonna put headers on it, but still gotta have good bolts. Is that one helicoiled too? No. Maybe? Crazy. All right, slowly making progress. I got the transmission removed. I'm gonna split them up before I pressure wash them because it's really heavy to move. So took the bell housing bolts off, took the torque converter nuts off, so that's draining. Here's that flywheel or flex plate I was talking about. So this is bolted to the back of the crankshaft, and the starter lives down here, and you can kind of see that gear is all chopped up and ground out, and it's all nasty. These are supposed to be nice sharp teeth, you know, like up here. So there's your problem. I guess this is where we're going to have to leave things for a while. I've had a few higher priority projects show up, so I gotta stop the fun projects and go work on the responsible projects. You can see I put the engine on the engine stand. It's mostly cleaned up. Transmission is nestled away. I'm gonna bundle all these truck parts and put them somewhere intelligent. And then this truck is gonna go back in storage for a while, a couple months probably. But this thing is, you know, ready to start working on. I did order up the flex plate on the thing that was damaged with the damaged teeth, and a couple of parts for the transmission, like a seal. I'm going to order a rebuild kit for the engine. And before I can do that, I need to know, you know, if I'm just going to put fresh seals in it, or if I'm going to do like, you know, make things better kind of rebuild. Haven't decided yet, but we'll find out. I'm going to take the oil pan off in a future video and measure the bearings, and we'll see how bad the wear is. If it's terrible, I will machine the engine. And if the tolerances are not terrible, I am not going to do any machining work. I'm just going to install new stock size bearings and put everything back together. Just like a, you know, I don't know, maybe a 50,000 mile motor. I have no idea. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching.